pressure up here, please. How y'all doing today?
What?
Oh my God. Come on, UCI, ROTC. Come on, ROTC. How you guys doing today?
What?
All right. Hey, I know it's 700 in the morning. That means 7 a.m. for those of you guys who are not familiar with that time reading. Okay. I know it's 7 in the morning. Probably one of the earliest times you've ever woken up in the last like 2-3 months or whatever over the summer. But I really thank you guys. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you all coming out here today. I appreciate you all coming out and checking us out. Okay. We got a lot of information to cover today. A lot of things. I know you guys have a lot of questions and stuff like that. But we're going to get through it as much as we can, okay, to help you guys out. But you guys are in the right place, okay, UCI, ROTC. You guys are in the right place. Before I go on and talk a little bit more, I'm going to invite Major Lee, our Cadre Baton XO, to give us a few opening remarks. Floor is yours, sir.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Good, sir.
Good, sir. Hey, for those of you who don't know me, like I said, I'm Major Lewis Lee. I'm the executive officer. For those who don't know what that is, I'm basically the second in charge of the Battalion Battalion, which is your parent organization. Major Scott Sparrow is your professor of military science. Fortunately, he couldn't be here this morning because he's at Fort Knox, Kentucky for a mission command workshop with the new commanding general, General Manera. So, on behalf of Major Sparrow and the Battalion, hey, welcome. We look forward to a great quarter, great school year with you guys. So we'll go through these briefs and everything, but what I really wanted to emphasize before we got started is we're here really to develop leaders of character and in line with the Army values. So hopefully throughout this quarter, throughout this semester, and school year, you guys will figure out what those are. But we're here to develop you as future commissioned officers. And hopefully at the end of this thing, you guys are going to be able to achieve that. And you see these folks over here, Lieutenant Adams and Lieutenant Flores, and wearing those gold bars on your chest, okay? Hey, I'm excited. We got a great team for you guys. We got two new commissioned officers to teach y'all, Captain Sweat and Captain Broom. Actually went through a lengthy interview process and got the cream of the crop to bring them in and teach you and develop you guys as future leaders in the Army. So I'm excited to have them, and hopefully you're excited to have them as your instructors as well. But without any further ado, I'll pass it over to Cadet Home.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, so for the agenda today, for the first hour, so from 700 to 800, that's 8 a.m., we're going to be talking a lot about ROTC, right? What ROTC is, we'll go into some scholarship opportunities, stuff like that. So you guys are aware of what we do here and have a good idea of what ROTC is. And then from there, we'll go into our safety stand-down briefs, okay? We're really big on safety here at UCI ROTC and the Battalion Battalion, so we want to make sure that we're all on the same page for that. Okay, let's keep going on. So before we go on, I'm going to hand it back off to Cadet Choi. Before I do that, if you guys need to leave at any time, at any point in time today during the brief, like you got 8 a.m.s or 9 a.m.s or something like that, feel free to just walk up and quietly leave the room. But I would advise you guys, or sorry, not advise, but please, that QR code on your table, that leads to a form. Please fill that out before you guys leave at any point in time during this briefing, all right? Okay, without further ado, I'll be followed by Cadet Choi.
All right, good morning, everybody. So we're going to go over MS4 introductions. So we're starting off, we have our Cadet Battalion Commander, Cadet Delgado.
Morning, UCI. I'm kind of used to saying Tuska because I'll say Poison, we're Tusk. You guys are
Zot.
Zot. Sorry if I'm doing it wrong. Good morning, I'm your battalion commander. I don't go to school here, and you're really not going to see me here that much because I am out of Cal State 14. But as a company, it's kind of what you guys are to us. Technically, all-time battalion, but you're like Charlie Company. I know it's a little like confusing. I'm still trying to get the hang of it. Same with Cadre on how we function. But overall, I set the standards and operations and training of what I want with your company, leadership, and your staff. And overall, we're gonna get you guys some good training for this year for the 3s who are going to camp, and then 1s and 2s, just for you to get a better understanding of how this program works. And I'm really to what your guys' MS4 leadership is gonna kind of bring to me on what you guys are doing here. So let's go. Or Zot.
Alright, so, next we have our, battalion executive officer, Cadet Danting.
Again, I'm Cadet Dante, I'm the battalion executive officer. My primary role is to make sure that the stuff from the battalion gets down to UCI, and I'm the primary point of contact between the two of us. I'm also responsible for overseeing the MS4 staff here at UCI.
Alright, so unfortunately she's not here today, but we have a special project officer, Cadet Horner. He's also at CSUF Fullerton. Moving on, we have our Battalion Command Sergeant Major, Cadet Bogus. He also was unfortunately unable to make it down here today. Moving on to Charlie Company staff, we have our Charlie Company Commander, Cadet Ho.
Hello everyone, you guys already met me. My name is Cadet Ho, spelled H-O, that's it, alright, I don't want to say anything else. So as a company commander, I'm in charge of, taking the vision of Cadet Delgado, our battalion commander, and making sure that's executed within our company.
Alright, next we got the Charlie Company Executive Officer and Tactics Officer. That's myself, Cadet Choi. So, essentially what I do as the Executive Officer is I coordinate with the different staff officers we have, or cadet staff officers, to ensure that all the planning and all the work that goes behind all the labs and classes and all the events we will have this year, make sure that gets done, make sure that goes smoothly. And also as the Tactics Officer, I'm in charge of more or less MS3 evaluations for labs and garrison roles. Alright, next we have our company first sergeant, Cadet Bozard.
Hey, good morning everybody. My name is Cadet Bozard. As first sergeant, I'm in charge of leading formations and enforcing standards and discipline within the company. Also, if you have any questions that your squad leaders can't answer, you can come to me and I'll help you guys out. Thanks.
Alright, next we have our adjutant officer as well as our intelligence and security officer, Cadet Huang.
Good morning, I'm Cadet Huang. I'm your S1 and S2 for the next coming year, and I'm basically in charge of keeping track of personnel record, so any paperwork related stuff, that's on me, and also your security clearance. Thank you.
Alright, so next we have our operations officer. So this is our battalion S3, Cadet Vargas, back there.
What's up, you guys? Cadet Vargas, out of Cal State Fullerton as well, with Cadet Delgado. So I know Cadet Stillwell will be taking care of you guys in terms of your company operations, so all your op boards and con ops, all that stuff. They'll be taking care of that stuff. But you guys, when it comes to FTX and any joint training, we'll go ahead and I'll kind of be in charge of that and helping coordinate, make sure you guys are getting good training with us over at Fullerton.
Alright, next we have our assistant operations officer, Cadet Stillwell.
Yeah, so I function as the S3 for our detachment. I'm assistant to Cadet Vargas over there. Basically, I just approve all the operations as they come out and they get written. I coordinate with Cadet Vargas to make sure that we do get good training on those field training exercises, those FTXs.
Okay, next we have our public relations and social media officer, who's also doing double duty as our recruiting operations officer, Cadet Bonham.
Hi everyone, I'm Cadet Bonham. As S5, I'm kind of the influencer of the detachment. I'm in charge of our social media, so Instagram, Facebook pages. Then as the recruiting operations officer, some of y'all might have seen my name or email already. I'm in charge of getting you guys familiar with the program, and then also getting you set up enough, so signed up for classes so that I can hand you off for S1, Cadet Flong, so he can start getting processes.
Alright. I accidentally skipped over, but Cadet Bozarth is also our logistics officer.
You already met me, so as a logistics officer, I also am in charge of issuing and returning gear and these amazing uniforms you see us wear. So you guys will all eventually see me if you decide to join the program.
Alright, so next we have our communications officer, Cadet Oji.
Good morning, my name is Cadet Oji. I'm in charge of sending the radios we're going to use during training.
Alright, and then just finishing off the MS4 leadership, again, I'm also the color guard coordinator. So as color guard coordinator, my job is to train up the color guard team, as well as try to schedule events for the color guard team to participate in. Yeah, so I will now be followed by Cadet Stillwell. Alright, floor is yours.
Good morning, guys. So this is our professor of military science. Before I launch into that, we're doing introductions of our cadre. Cadre are our instructors. They come out of here from actual active duty military posts, so they're here to teach and help us learn. The most important would be our professor of military science, Major Sparrow. We call him PMS. He is the head administrator of our program. Unfortunately, he could not join us today. As Major Lee mentioned, he is out in Fort Knox, Kentucky, helping us plan better CST or cadet summer training. So at this moment, if you see your name as cadre, if you could please step forward, introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your branch, what you do for the program. We would greatly appreciate it.
Oh, well, I kind of already introduced myself. But a little bit of background. So I'm an ROTC graduate out of Lincoln University in Jefferson City, Missouri. Artillery branch, and then most recent assignment, I was battalion XO for Hammer Battalion at JBLM, Joint Base Solutions Support in Washington.
I do not believe Major Wobig was able to join us today, but he is our battalion operations officer. He plans on a cadre level all of our operations, a lot like the S3s and the Cadet and Vargas do for us. This is Captain Mallet, who was also unable to join us. He is the MS3 instructor over at Cal State Fullerton. He's their class teacher as well as their battalion S3. This is Captain Garrison. He is the MS2 instructor. He teaches MS2 class.
It's actually Captain Carrion.
Captain Carrion?
Yeah.
My apologies, Captain Carrion. Thank you, sir. Master Sergeant T-Mac, he helps teach with the MS4s as well as the MS5s. If you wind up sticking around, he is our.
And he's also right here.
My apologies.
What? Man, you were doing a good job, all right? And like you said, right, Master Sergeant T-Mac, I'm your senior military instructor. I will be, I teach MS4s down in Fullerton and over here too, so you guys are gonna get to see me a lot over here too. What else?
Your branch.
Oh, my branch, I'm a engineer, combat engineer. So that is the engineer branch, I guess, for the officers. And I've been in the military for 15 years. Then next month on the 3rd, I'll hit my 16 years in the Army. So that's badass, right? And what else? I've been here in this program for this December, will be my 3rd year. And yeah, that's it, right?
Thank you, Mr.
All right, and welcome everybody.
Sergeant Palos. I'm scared now. Sergeant Palos is our MS3 instructor. He's also our operations NCO. Sergeant Aman.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Staff Sergeant Manning. I'm the person you're gonna see most of the time when you guys are trying to contract. Most of y'all probably recognize my face, but if not, how y'all doing this morning? My branch, I am Adjutant General, aka AG. I'm S1, so a lot of paperwork and everything. You guys are interested in stuff like that? Definitely talk to me. I'll help y'all out. It's definitely a good job. I've been in the Army for 9 years. It'll be 10 October 10th next month. So, you know, looking to turn up a little bit, you know, something like that. That's like, but that is all about me.
Thanks, sir. Captain Sweat.
Good morning, everybody. I think the first one introduced from UCI Organic Cadre. I'm going to be your MS2 instructor, so for everyone who doesn't understand the MS 1, 2, 3, 4 thing, it's just your 4 years of college. So I'll be teaching the sophomores. I've been in the military for 9 years now. I'm an artillery officer. Came from Fort Drum, who've been here probably less than most of you. I've been here for about 2 months now. But from working with these guys already, you can see they're a great group of cadets. So you guys are in excellent hands with both us and with them. And I look forward to seeing you guys.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Christian Broom. I'm from Monterey, California originally. I have been in the Army for 9 years. I commissioned out of ROTC from Maranatha Baptist University in Wisconsin. It was very cold, but I had a great experience. So I'm extremely happy to be here as an ROTC instructor. I'm an infantry officer. I started out at Fort Benning, Georgia, been to Fort Bliss, Texas, Fort Hood, Texas, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and then Irvine, California. So this is definitely the nicest place I've ever been. But I've been a mix of different jobs, been a platoon leader, been a battalion S1, been a battalion operations officer, assistant operations officer, and then a company commander and XO. So really looking forward to taking some of that experience and incorporate that into the MS3 class, which is going to be my primary class for this school year.
Good morning, I'm Staff Sergeant Mrozik, originally from Flint, Michigan. Been in the Army for coming up on 13 years now. I've been at UCI as cadre for almost 3 years now, so I'm kind of the old guy here at UCI as far as the cadre goes. I have 2 kids, a wife of 10 years, and I will be your MS1 instructor, your primary MS1 instructor, so I'll be teaching the freshmen basically. Right? Pretty much anyone new that's coming into the program, you'll be going through me. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or any of our amazing MS4s. And I look forward to seeing you at PT in 06.
These are our wonderful support staff. So, like I mentioned, if you are here, I will introduce you. If you could please come up and talk a little bit about yourself. So your pack. Okay. Third pack. Sorry. What? Introduce yourself.
Oh, hey, good morning, guys. My name is Staff Sergeant Pack. I'm your integrated National Guard recruiter. So I deal with the reserve components, which means that we're part-time. So when you do complete this program, you can become an officer in a part-time component. So that's what I help assist with Mr. Yacht, who is our recruiting operations officer up in Fullerton. I assist him down here at UCI. What else am I to say? Oh, I'm an infantryman. I've been in for just under 18 years, so almost done. 20 years.
Lieutenant Bon Cosme, he is helping out as an MS1 instructor as well as recruitment. We also have Sergeant Santiago, who is the National Guard recruiter over at Cal State Fullerton. Sergeant Pinto is the reserve recruiter over at Cal State Fullerton. You'll notice they're both MS1 instructors as well. Then we have Miss Antonina. She is for Fullerton as well. She is their, I want to say, contact with their university. She helps organize things for them so that ROTC and the university are communicating. Mr. Nguyen is our human resources administrator. We call him our HOA. Most of your paperwork will get processed through him. We speak a lot about contracting. That is where you sign your formal contract with the government. The main point of contact will be Mr. Nguyen. And then Mr. Yacht, who I see outside. Sure. Mr. Rock is our primary recruiting operation.
Are we introducing?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, how's everybody doing? Woo. I can tell you what, I'm not from Southern California, but the only thing that got me through that traffic was Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood. Anybody? Anybody? Old school rock? Anyways, I'm the recruiting operations officer. I cover down on 6 different schools. As you know, we're part of the bigger group, right? The wider lens is the Titan Battalion. So we're at Cal State Fullerton. That's where I hang my hats every day. But we cover down on a couple different schools, UCI being our biggest extension, Chapman, Whittier College, Vanguard, Biola, and Cal State Fullerton. Cool? All right, so what do? So, recruiting operations officer, I manage all the recruiting, right, operations. You are the recruiters. The best way to get the word out about this awesome program, and the program sells itself, right? But we are in the process of finding out if you're eligible for a contract, if you're eligible for a scholarship. You'll see my slide when I get up there. Thanks for the opportunity to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Yacht.
All right, you're welcome. I'm gonna let this coffee kick in and then I'll talk 2 slides later.
They are not mentioned on our slides here, but we do also have 2 Gold Bar recruiters. They are Lieutenant Adams as well as Lieutenant Sorrell. They did shift downstairs to help kind of welcome up any cadets who weren't able to be more on time. But you should see them. They should pop up in the room hopefully soon. If not, we'll bump into them when you're heading downstairs. They also assist Mr. Yacht in recruiting. With that, I will be followed by Cadet Ho, who will continue with the mission statement.
All right, so a lot of names, a lot of people. We don't expect you all to remember everybody, but you know, as you get into this program, you know, the zip codes, all those numbers we're shouting at you will start to make sense, and you'll feel right a part of this. So, what is the Titan Battalion? What is ROTC? Major Lee already talked a little bit about it, right? We're here to develop you guys into leaders foremost. And with leadership comes good character, good scholarship, athletics. All these are the 3 pillars of ROTC, okay? Leadership, athletics, and scholarship. That's basically what ROTC is. And we have a bunch of different schools under the Titan Battalion, right? UCI is a pretty new program, about 10 years running, okay? And so, the Titan Battalion over at Cal State Fullerton is our host school. It helps us run our operations here at UCI. Okay, let's keep going. So what is Army ROTC? So, like I said, it's a leadership elective course. All right, you guys are taking this course along with your major classes. So if you're a bio major, if you're a business major, writing emails all day, right? You'll be taking this course along with that. And military science, so MS stands for military science, okay? And as Captain Sweat mentioned, right, the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, that just corresponds with your year in this program, all right? When you're in ROTC, you have the opportunity to contract and to get a scholarship that can pay for your whole tuition. So that's a really cool incentive. And if you guys are, still on the fence about it, not really, want to commit yet, hopefully we can change that by the end of this quarter or next quarter, okay? But if you guys are still on the fence, that's perfectly fine, okay? Your first 2 years, those are obligations free, okay? You guys don't need to sign anything, you're not obligated to join the Army after. But if you decide, hey, ROTC is my thing, I want to be an officer in the Army, and then after you graduate, after you complete your 4 years or your 2 years plus basic camp, we'll talk more about that later, you get to commission as an officer. So what does that mean, right? Being an officer means being a leader, okay? When you commission, when you graduate, 99% of the time you're be put into a platoon of about 30 to 40 people, and you're in charge of executing that mission. And what that mission is depends on the branch that you get into, okay? A lot of you guys think, oh, Army, infantry, right? Give me a rifle, give me some knowledge, put me out there, right? But the Army nowadays have a lot of warfighting functions, a lot of other branches that help support that. So for example, cyber, right? Military intelligence for all of you computer science people, all right? Med services for all of you biology people. Hey, biology. And you can do this being on the active duty side, right? So that means you're living the Army life 24/7, right? You're living on the base. Or on the reserve side, so you're trying to pursue a civilian career, right? Trying to go to med school, grad school, something like that. You can use the Army as kind of like a launch pad to help you with your career, okay? So there's a lot of options for you. Moving on. So in ROTC, you also, along with your military science classes, PT, stuff like that, you also get the opportunity to go to a lot of summer training. A lot of fun. I have a lot of cadets here to talk about it, okay? And you also get to learn a lot of things. So without further ado, I'm gonna invite the first cadet up here, Cadet Nguyen, to talk about his time at basic camp. All right.
All right, good morning everyone. I'm Cadet Nguyen, and I'm in MS3 this year, which is basically a third year, and I had the pleasure to attend basic camp this past summer. So what basic camp is this a training event or camp that cadet who have missed for your first year of ROTC or not able to complete the full 4 year would go to catch up, because at basic camp you get trained on basic skills such as marksmanship, small unit SWAT tactics, and land navigation. So I had a lot of fun doing that. And basic camp also took place at Fort Knox, Kentucky, which is where advanced camp takes place. So you kind of get a head start on the terrain and the weather, and you kind of know what to expect from Fort Knox, Kentucky. And personally, I went to basic camp because I missed my first year of ROTC. And coming back, it just gave me a lot of confidence knowing that I'm well prepared and well trained for the upcoming MS3 year. And another bonus is that I got to meet a lot of cool and new friends from basic camp, because they're all fellow cadets from all different schools over the nation. And you get to train from one of the top cadre and everyone's favorite, the drill sergeant. So it was a lot of fun. Myself and a lot of the MS3 went to basic camps such as Auditor, Chen, Z, and Morales. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to catch any of us, and we'd love to talk to you guys more about basic camp. And I'll be followed by Cadet Danting and Huang to talk more about advanced.
Good morning, Cadet Huang again, and I'll be going over the advanced camp portion. Advanced camp is also held at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and it is in total 35 days. For all the MS3s over here, this is your Super Bowl. We'll prepare you all year long for this event, and except for this one, Seabird, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. Basically, you're gonna have a good time with the mask on, and not so good time with the mask off. And the advanced camp tests your individual tasks, such as land navigation. In the camp, you're required to do written tests and then the practical exercise for both day and night. And you'll also be tested on your leadership skills, both squad level and platoon level tactics. But there's also fine events for leadership skills. So if you lead a reaction course, you'll be split into squads, and you're kind of forced to work together, and you're gonna find out who's the snake in the squad, you know, who you work well with, who you don't really work well with. And I'll be followed by Cadet Denting.
Thank you, Cadet Huang. Again, I'm Cadet Danting. I was also advanced camp as an MS3. This photo on the right is a photo of me in the field doing a field training exercise. The cool thing about this photo is it was actually posted on the U.S. Army Cadet Command Instagram page. So I was pretty hyped up when I found out about that. And then this photo on the top right, we have a cadet at the grenade familiarization range. And they taught us there how to properly and safely execute grenades. This next photo, we have a cadet performing TCCC, or Tactical Combat Casualty Care, on a dummy, and this is a graded event. This is actually something we'll teach you in 2 weeks at one of our labs. And this last photo, we have a cadet at the M4 rifle qualification range, and this qualification involves 40 pop-up targets going as far as 300 meters, and to pass, you need to get at least 23 out of 40. So it is quite a challenge, but all of this is a bunch of fun. I'll now be followed by Cadet Choi, who will talk about additional summer opportunities.
All right, good morning, everybody. Happy y'all look like y'all just falling asleep back there. But okay, so on something a little bit more interesting. Hey, so ROTC, we offer a lot of stuff, but we also have cadet internships that are available to our cadets. So these internships are 3 to 4 weeks long. There's a couple that are more the exception than the rule that are about 8 weeks long, but we have pretty much every sort of internship you can imagine. We have for people who are going, let's say bio or medical, there's like a nursing internship program. So for anybody who's going that route, there's that. If you're a comp sci major or some other STEM major, there are like a ton of different internships that you can sign up for that'll just, be really good for building up your resume. If you're not really like interested in more technical stuff, there's also just a lot of Army-centric internships as well. So we have a couple like CTLT where you get to shadow a officer or platoon leader for the summer. There's a couple where you get to follow a field grade officer, and you get basically an 8-week paid vacation in Europe. So that's always fun. So yeah, there's a lot of internships. Best part, it's paid. And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, there's going to be something for you. All right, so I'm just going to talk about my personal experience this summer with ATEC. So ATEC is the Army Testing and Evaluations Command. So I got to go on a 4-week internship in beautiful White Sands Missile Range, New Mexico. So what does White Sands do? So they're the missile test range for the United States Army. They use that range to test any sort of artillery or rocket system, whether it's a new developing weapon system or just verifying stockpile munitions, because if you leave them around for 30 years, you're not sure if they're going to work. So while I was there, I got to work with the Range Control Office. So I'm a computer engineering major, and while I was there, they had me pretty much work on their computer servers that they use to control the drones that they use to shoot down on the range. So I got to go and do a lot of work more on the cyber side, making sure that those servers were up to date on their cybersecurity stuff. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to take a lot of photos. That's why this is the most bland slide on the entire presentation, and that's because of the sensitive nature of White Sands. Due to operational security, you cannot take photos of the facilities. But it was a very fun experience getting to see all the different the facilities that they had to test weapon systems, and all the different, getting to sit in and watch some weapons tests go on in the desert. It's fun as waiting like 6 hours because of lightning, delaying the tests. But yeah, that was my experience. If anybody has any questions about White Sands, a little bit more in depth about going to the ATEC internship or whatnot, just feel free to come find me after all the presentations are done. So I'll now be followed by Cadet Bonham, who will be talking about his internship.
Morning, everyone. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my internship, and then we're going to go into Army schools. So my internship, I can tell you a little bit about. I had the opportunity to go to the Army Cyber Institute at the premier West Point Military Academy in New York. The Army Cyber Institute is responsible for identifying problems in the cyber domain that will affect the Army in the future and finding solutions for them. So specifically, for all my nerds out there, I got to work on a natural language processing project that analyzed patterns within a narrative, and we can make predictions and general conclusions about that narrative. So like for, say, like foreign newspapers about the United States or something like that. And then it also had the opportunity of being in New York, or at least like an hour away from the city, so I actually got to go to New York like every weekend. And again, it was like paid, I made like on average like $15 an hour with housing paid for. So it was a really great experience. I got to do something in the Army that directly applies to my major, computer science, and I got to meet some pretty cool people along with it. And next, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you a little bit about Army schools. The difference between Army schools and Army internships is that Army schools are much more applicable to the Army as a whole. So these are schools that you go to and you take those skills back to your unit, you can teach them to people, and you also get a cool little skill identifier badge at the end of it. So there's a bunch of different schools that you can pick from. I'm going to tell you about the one that I went to, the Almighty Air Assault School at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, And so what you do at Air Assault School is you learn all about rotary wing aircraft, how many people you can fit in them, how much weight they can carry, and then of course jumping out of them. And it was really great not only because I got to go to a real Army school and talk with people in the real active duty Army. I got the opportunity to talk to a fresh second lieutenant who tell me what it was like to be a new officer. And I also got to talk to a private first class who could tell me what it was like to be on an active duty Army base. And so it's really great to go to these schools, not only because you can get a badge that you can carry into your officer career, but also because you get to experience what the real Army is like and get a better feel for how you fit in. And now I'm going to be followed by Cadet Chun to talk about some other lame school called Airborne. Just kidding.
Thank you, President Air Assault. Good morning, everybody. I'm Cadet Chun. I'm a MS2 majoring in informatics, and last month I had the honor of going to airborne school in the lovely Fort Benning, Georgia, where I spent 3 weeks in that nasty humidity and heat, running, jumping, and landing on an aircraft. So it was a really awesome experience. Started off with ground week, where they taught me how to put on a harness, land properly, and just exit the aircraft properly. And then that moved on to tower week, which you got to exit the tower, which is a 34-foot tower, and it's a zip line, so it's really fun, just like a civilian one. Except that you have to do it with combat gear, which looked cool at first, but is really miserable because you have a rug between your legs, weighs a lot, and you also have a parachute on your back, so it was really tough. And then we also got to perfect our parachute landing falls, which is the way you land after you exit out of the aircraft. So this will all prepare you for jump week, which is the 3rd week of the airborne school. And as the culminating event, you get to jump out of an aircraft 5 times. But before that, it was a lot of waiting around. You're strapped in a harness, you got a parachute on your back, and you're waiting there for hours and hours because they need to get their 400 other students before you get to jump. And after they finally wake you up to go board the airplane, it's just an exhilarating experience. You just see the ground right below you, you're flying out of there, you get sucked out of the aircraft. You're so loud you can't even hear yourself count, but then it's just super peaceful. You get to look around, see everybody, look at this view, and hit the ground. Hopefully not too hard like I did and hurt my elbow. But overall, it was an awesome experience besides the school training because I got to have a lot of camaraderie, meet everybody between a private and a sergeant major and lieutenant colonel because everybody there are students. So it's really easy to talk to people. So I got a lot of experience talking to privates, enlisted people, a lot of officers. So I got some good leadership tips from them, and also good tips from cadets who just came from advanced camp, so that'll prepare me for the future. So overall, it was a super cool experience, and I really recommend working hard in your ROTC career so that you're able to go to schools like this because opportunities may not happen after you commission. So yeah, just work hard. And if you have any questions about airborne or my experience, I'm always here to talk to. And if you need help with ROTC in general, again, just let me know. All right, thank you. I'll be followed by
Demonstrate. Jumpers hit it.
1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000.
Airborne.
Airborne.
Were you scared, Chun?
I was terrified.
So we're on a little bit over time here, so I'm gonna go quick. So I had CTLT, which is that internship where you get to shadow an officer, right? And I got to shadow an infantry unit, and I got one of those cool events I got to do was I got to be paired with a bunch of 68 whiskeys. That's the MOS for combat medic. They stuck me with a lot of needles and stuff, gave me some ketamine. That's why I look so happy over there. Yeah, so it's a really cool experience, right? You're gonna be an officer, so why not shadow one, right? Okay, I'll now be followed by Cadet Still. We'll talk a little bit about Ranger Challenge.
Hey, real quick before we get into that, so the question comes up every time that we talk about these summer opportunities. So how do I compete? Well, what happens is, typically the MS3s get priority, right? Because you're already gonna go to camp, we're already gonna have you kind of away from, your home installation, your home school. And plus, we're trying to get you, you're already contracted, and we're trying to get you additional opportunities, to be out there and get some exposure, right? But Sean, what are you? What MS level?
I was MS1 last year.
MS1 last year, right?
Yes, sir.
So we did get exception policy, to send Chun to airborne school, so there is still a chance out there. So how does that process work? So for some of the internships, what happened is, we'll get it from Cadet Command and Brigade, what are all those opportunities, and basically it'll come out in a Word document. We'll send it to your MS3 instructor, all your instructors, and they will email it out, and you have to take a look at that. It's about 6 or 7 pages typically, that will list all those internships that are available. And then you will tell your instructors, hey, I'm interested in this. And then once you self-identify, then we'll take a look at your entire performance, right? So your GPA, what academic major you have, what you scored on the ACFT, your participation in the program, if it's Ranger Challenge, which he's gonna about to introduce to you, color guard, all that stuff. So we'll take all that stuff into account, and then we'll kind of rack and stack you based off of that. So we'll develop an internal OML along with Cal State Fullerton, so you're gonna compete against those folks as well. And then we'll send that up to Brigade. Brigade will take a look at it holistically, and then we'll start doing those assignments, and then let you know if you made the cut or not. But the primary onus is going to be on you to fill up those internship packages, right? And to fill up those airborne packages, those air assault school packages, to look at what all those requirements are and give them to your MS instructors, because we're not going to do it for you. We just don't have the bandwidth to be able to do that. So if you really want to seize those opportunities, which they are really good, and will help you, especially with CTLT, give you some free chicken on what it's like to be a platoon leader or commissioned officer, or different schools, different like internships, so, something to lean some experience off of. Just let your instructor know. We'll pass it up to the time. We'll take a look at it, and then we'll send up the brigade, and then we'll compete. And then if you get the slot, then we'll award it to you. Okay? Any questions on that?
Thank you, sir. So, Ranger Challenge. Ranger Challenge is ROTC's varsity sport. That means that the top cadets from each battalion get together and they compete in events like pistol, rifle shooting, ruck marching, as you see us doing on the left. You also do field tactics, as well as things like land navigation. So what that is it's just a lot of events where we come together and we compete. I would recommend trying out for the team. If you're not really all that interested in trying out for the team, continue to train with us. The training is really helpful. It helped me personally at advanced camp. On top of that, it'll just make you an overall better cadet. If you do make the team, because only the best from our detachment will get to participate in UCI's Ranger Challenge team, you do get OML points for that. OML is our Order of Merit list. That is how the United States government ranks cadets. So it gives you a bump on that. On top of that, you get a really cool tab you get to use to flex on anybody who did not do Ranger Challenge. Overall, it is a varsity sport, and the best cadets from our program get to compete against others. If we win that, we get to go to Sandhurst, I believe.
You'll compete in the brigade competition, which I think was held in was it Irwin this year? And then if you win it for Irwin, like Lieutenant Adams did, you'll go to Sandhurst, which is the national competition, and compete against.
So you compete against all international teams. It's held at West Point U.S. Military Academy in New York. Really cool. Got to go up against Team Australia, Team Mexico, all these other teams. Yeah, and personally, so I did Ranger Challenge all 4 years. I'll keep this quick, but it's a great way to help you get used to the program, understand kind of military knowledge, put you above your peers, and it's a great way to just get good workouts in. So I highly recommend it, and you get to do some cool things like go across the country.
Thank you, sir. Good. That is Ranger Challenge. Again, like I said, highly recommend joining. So this is our weekly schedule. We're moving into kind of the annual training plan of the weekly schedule, what the program is going to look like. The important dates are those lab and PT. You notice we have physical training 3 times a week from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Typically that's going to be held at Bonita Creek Park. We'll get that information out to you in an operations order and outboard. Lab is from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. that will also be pushed out in that op board, but typically that is held at our park. Depending on what MS class you are, you'll notice that you have your different blocks on there. So that is the weekly schedule for our detachment. This is our annual training plan. We'll send this to you via email, so you'll have this, because this covers what each of the labs are going to be, kind of an overview. The important dates that are on here is our cadet water training, where we'll tread water with a rifle in our hand to simulate combat water survival training. Thank you, Minister. On top of that, we have our field training exercise with our battalion, which is right over there. Basically, anything that's important, it'll give you a heads up on the battalion for. With that, I would like to introduce Mr. Yak, who will talk more about scholarships and opportunities.
All right, good. Mr. Kim, you want to come up? Give me an MS2 volunteer.
Sean.
Volunteer over there. Okay, good. Mr. Kim, stand right here. Give me an MS2 over here. Give me an MS3. Good. Delgado, would you come up as an MS4? Okay. Raise your hand if this is brand new information today. 1, 2, raise mine. Okay, good. This is for you. Give me an MS3. All right, stand right there. Thank you. Okay. Here. All right, perfect. Okay. So ROTC, right, is a 4-year program, but you can do it in 2 years. All right. So if you hear that word MS, right, stands for military science, right? It also can stand for mission set. So if you're a brand new freshman, right, raise your hand, right, to the program, or you're brand new to the program, right, you are an MS1, okay. Raise your hand, you're MS2, typically a freshman, typically a sophomore. Everybody north, south, understanding? Okay, right here, this is called the basic course of ROTC. There is no contractual obligation to the United States Army. I couldn't put you in the United States Army if I tried, but I can get you eligible, right, to find out if you're legally eligible, medically eligible, physically eligible, and academically eligible. And we do all that in-house. So we find out if you are eligible to become an officer candidate, right? This is called the basic course. Then, if you're a junior, raise your hand, right? You could be an MS3. And if you're a senior, raise your hand, you're an MS4. This is called the advanced course. This is called the advanced course. Now, when we talk about contracting, can you contract in the basic course when there's no contractual obligation? Absolutely, you can if you're eligible. But every cadet that is in the 3 or 4 year or the advanced course is contracted, right? Just like if you were an OCS or Officer Candidate School candidate, or if you were a West Point candidate, right? So our courtesy to you is to find out if you're eligible, right? When you're trying out the program, you're having fun, right? You like us, we like you. You're like, you know what, Mr. Yak, I think the United States Army or Army Reserve or California National Guard is a good profession to enter, right, as I try out the program. So then we start to have that serious conversation with you, right? And then as we start to work that eligibility, we go right down the line. Okay, very good. Any questions about the basic course? And here at UCI, the basic course is Military Science 1-1 and 10 Lab, right? And the next quarter, it's 1-2 and 10 Lab, and 1-3 and 10 Lab. And then that would be your classes. His classes would be ROTC 2-1, 2-2, and 2-3, right? Thank you, go ahead and sit down. All right, now this is the meat and potatoes of ROTC, right? Here's the advanced course, right? Now, if you're coming into ROTC a little bit later and you just found out about the program, you can enter into the advanced course without having to do those 2 years. Does that make sense? Yeah, and there's a couple different ways to lateral enter ROTC. The first one, you saw a slide on it earlier called basic camp. So if you missed a quarter or you missed a year of ROTC and you tell your friends about this information, don't worry about it. We actually have a catch-up program. It's like if I missed biology, the first and second year of biology, but then I wanted to change my major to biology, right? I would go to like a biology camp over the summer, and it would catch me up to the last 2 years to enter that, to change my major. So if you think of it in that context, okay? Another way to enter the advanced course is basic training through the Army Reserve or California National Guard. The other way to do it, right, is if you did junior ROTC in high school and you have 3 years, that basic course can be waived. So you can either start as a freshman and go 1, 2, 3, 4, or you could be in the California National Guard or in the Army Reserve. You could enter right here as a 3, or you find out about ROTC a little bit late, didn't fit in your academic schedule, you go to that slide called Basic Camp, right? We send you to Fort Knox, Kentucky, so for approximately 35 days, we pay you, we fly you, we train you, we give you all your gear, you go there, you do a month of ROTC, and then you catch up ready to enter the 3rd year, okay? Now, to enter the 3rd year, everybody must be contracted. I mean, you can try out ROTC for 2 years, but then to enter the advanced course, everybody's contracted, just like a West Point cadet, just like an officer candidate school or OCS candidate, right? And at that point, we start to talk about 2 different types of contracts. One of them, you'll see on the board. Nope, next slide. Yep, right there. So there's 2 types of contracts. So when you think about over here, did you stand up? OG, thank you. If you're about ready to graduate, right, this is the only program on campus that is 100% job placement day 1. The biology department's gonna brag, they're like, you know, 75% of our level entry graduates with a baccalaureate degree from UCI have level entry employment within the first 6 months. That's awesome, right? The United States Army, through ROTC, is 100% job placement day 1. So go ahead and raise your hand, OG. When you graduate ROTC, you have a position in the Department of the Army as a second lieutenant. All right, thank you. You see that? Okay, thanks. Okay, what are the benefits of contracting, right? There's 2 types of contract. One of them is, when I graduate the program, I know I have an awesome major, I have a job waiting at Boeing, let's say. You can serve in a part-time capacity in the Reserve or National Guard, right? That means just like a part-time firefighter, or a part-time police officer, or a part-time nurse, whatever, right? It's part-time, meaning 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a summer. If you want to go full-time, right, and enter the United States Army as an active duty lieutenant, right, that is also available. So the position is you go through the training, once you contract, you're guaranteed a position in the United States Army, which is pretty high speed, and we take that very seriously. Because when we go to the next slide about scholarshiping, we have the funds, not we, meaning the Department of the Army and Cadet Command, we have the funds to scholarship you throughout this journey. Now, when I say those 2 contracts, there's either guaranteed reserve forces duty contract or non-guaranteed reserve forces duty contract, right? We also call it line or active duty. So you can actually determine how you want to serve when you graduate the program. Everybody north-south, make sense? Okay, good. So what are the benefits? You get paid $420 every month, period. All contracted cadets, when they raise their right hand, and we validated that they're eligible, right? And you're gonna sign a contract because you're asking us, yes, ROTC, I want to contract. Then you get paid $420 every month, right? So that's one of the benefits. Now, what's one type of contract?
Contract would be for.
Slide, don't remember.
Sorry, I don't know.
Slide. Oh, oh my God, I'm keeping this like 7:30 simple.
Sorry, GRFD, contract guaranteed reserve.
Right. So you can guarantee that you want to serve in the Army Reserve when you're done, right? What's the other type of contract?
Active contract.
Yep, an active duty contract or non-GRFD. So there's only 2 types of contract, right? All right, good. All right, thank you very much. Okay, now let's go back 1 slide. Here's the scholarship. There's only 1 scholarship. There's 2 contracts, 1 type of scholarship. But guess what? There's 43 ways of putting those together. That's our job over here, right? So there's only 1 type of scholarship, the ROTC scholarship. It is full tuition and fees. And here at UCI, it's probably around $13,000, $14,000 a year-ish, right, give or take. Or if you're on a different type of scholarship, or let's say you're on the Cadet program, right, and your tuition is waived or it's already covered, you can elect every year, once you earn the scholarship, that you can take $10,000 for room and board. Right? So if your tuition is covered, you can elect every year to take $10,000 for room and board. The other benefit of the scholarship is $600 every semester. I know you're all on a quarter system, right? But it's usually from September to December, December to May, right? $600 is given to you for books, right? for books. So it's a book stipend of $1,200 a year plus full tuition, or you can elect to take $10,000 for room and board. Okay. Now there's three ways to earn this scholarship. One of them is, Ms. Humphreys, go ahead and stand up, please. Welcome to Southern California from the brisk, cold East Coast. All right. So Ms. Humphrey applied for a national scholarship when she was in high school. Right? Only about 3% of about 8,000 students that are seniors in high school earn that scholarship before they even get to ROTC. It's very hard, right? But my hat's off to you for even trying it, right? She was a non-select, no worries. Sure, I filled out all the paperwork while she was in high school. All we have to do is submit those 4 validations to our brigade, which is in Tacoma, Washington, and we can scholarship her because she's already done the work, right? That's a national scholarship. Good, thank you. Sit down. The second one is campus-based. So instead of receiving a national scholarship, we can offer her a campus-based scholarship, and she's like one step away, right, from earning that scholarship as a freshman. So, meaning campus-based, meaning our brigade, right, which covers 30 battalions on the West Coast, Hawaii, Guam, and American Samoa, right, from Alaska down to California, the whole West Coast. All we have to do is submit a scholarship application from the campus. Make sense? Okay. The third one is called the Minuteman Scholarship. The Minuteman Scholarship is it is designed, its original design is that if you're serving in the Army Reserve or California National Guard, which Sergeant Pack will talk about soon, right? It can be a 2 to 4 year scholarship for Army Reservists or California National Guard soldiers that are full-time students and who are contracted in ROTC. There's some benefits with that. It can be 4 years as a first-time freshman. So if you didn't receive the first one, right, and you're going for a campus-based, if you know you want to serve in the Army Reserve, right, we then submit an application. Once you complete the application to brigade for a Minuteman Scholarship, and that guarantees you a position in the Army Reserve or California National Guard. Make sense? Okay, I think I broke that out pretty simply. Here's a little brief back. How much does the scholarship pay?
Full tuition.
Full tuition, right? Full tuition and fees. Or you can do what?
Up to $10,000.
$10,000 a year, that's right. And if you're on scholarship, how much do you make for books every semester? $600. And because you're on a quarter system, it just gets broken down into semesters, okay? And if you're contracted with or without a scholarship, how much do you make a month? Is that Chen?
We make $420.
$420 a month. Why they picked that number, I do not know. For the Department of the Army, where marijuana is not authorized, they still pick $420, right, a month. Okay, good. So the program can pay for your entire school. That's the whole cool thing. So you hear about the internships, you hear about the high-speed, low-drag schools that you can go to, right? Your entire career as a college student can be paid for. You literally can make money in college. All right. Now, if I can have my 2 gold bar recruiters come out. Sergeant Pat, come out, please. Sergeant Cabral here? No, okay, got it. Okay, so Lieutenant Sorrell is a product of our program. He is a type battalion commissioned officer, right? He's about ready to go to his BOLIC, which we call BOLIC Bravo, which is second phase, right? Where you learn your career field. Lieutenant Adams graduated from SDSU. They're both working with us for 90 days to help recruit, help support you in recruiting because we're as strong as you guys make it. Okay? And then Sergeant Pack, who's a non-commissioned officer, right? He is my subject matter expert when it comes to, hey, a student down at UCI says, I'm going to join the California National Guard, have what we call battle assembly, right? I call it an internship because you're non-deployable, you're a cadet in a National Guard unit. Let's say you want to go into engineering, we'll put you in an engineering unit, and there's some additional financial, educational funds that are available if you choose to serve in the Guard, in ROTC, and be a full-time student, no matter what your major is. Everybody make sense? Okay, this is especially for all you new folks, right, when you're hearing this for the first time. Okay, these 3 folks and myself can assist you. We're not going to do it for you, that's not our job. Our job is to assist you to build a scholarship application or assist you to build a contract application. You pull out your laptop, you make a folder. All the forms are available through your instructor, right, which is also available online on our website. You fill those out, right, we validate them. And then when it's time, you have your packet complete, raise your hand, Sergeant Manning. Man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. Sergeant Manning is our subject matter expert, human resources technician. He will then start to build a contract, right? He will build a contract. So scholarship, come to one of these folks here, or myself, right? When it's time to contract, Sergeant Manning, he will legally create the contract for you, right? Okay. That's a lot of information for 8 o'clock this morning, first cup of coffee. All right, I'm gonna take 3 questions. Give me 1 question, new people, because I know you got a lot of them. It's gonna benefit the group, be a contribution. What's 1 question you got? Cadet Humphreys, what's the question?
I would say, where can I find him if I want to contract?
Who's him? There's a whole bunch of hymns up here.
Man.
Oh, Sergeant Manning. Where do you find Sergeant Manning? Right? Is it Manning@fullerton.edu? Yes. Right. His email is going to be on the slide. If you have my contact phone number, I will direct you to him. Right? But once you build your packet, then he can then start to create it. But we travel back and forth a little bit from Cal State Fullerton, but they're the majority of our time, and then we come down to UCI when requested to support you all. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Question?
Can you sign contract in your first year?
Can you sign a contract your first year? Yes, you can if you're on a Minuteman scholarship, a 4-year scholarship. You can sign a contract if you're a national 4-year scholarship recipient. Does that make sense? The scholarship and the contract are 2 different things, but in order to contract a freshman, meaning we have 4 years left, right? Yes. Those 2 things have to apply for a cadet.
So, can I build the MS3 like in my first year, and then some will do the AC? So
We'll talk about it afterwards, if it's like an individual thing, because I just need more information from you to answer that question properly. Okay, 1 more question. Yes, sir.
Is there anywhere where we can see like the list of jobs you guys offer?
Absolutely. In fact, the easiest way to find the list of jobs that we offer, or we call them branches for a commissioned officer, is go to CSUF, or Cal State Fullerton, or just type in Titan Battalion ROTC. I have everything on that webpage, and I'm always trying to consistently update it. But there's a PowerPoint on there that kind of reviews what you learned today, right, at a battalion level, and it has all the branches on a slide. So if you're like, hey, I want to go to medical service corps, I want to be an engineer, cyber warfare, right, or infantry, right, all those branches are on there. And then get with your instructor for the details of that branch, because they have real world experience with those branches. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, once again, Mr. Yacht, do not hesitate, right? When it comes to contracting and scholarships, the system's already designed, right? We're just a vehicle to assist you to earn that scholarship. So when it's time and the light bulb goes off, you're like, you know what, I wanna find out if I'm eligible, start now. There's no reason not to, right? Start now to find out if you're eligible in order to receive a scholarship. And if you are, chances are that you're also eligible to contract. But we can apply for a scholarship before you're ready to contract. That's okay. We can contract and then scholarship too. It's called a retention scholarship. But once again, there's 43 ways to do this. So in this room, there may be 2 people, probably 1.7 people that have the same story because you're academically aligned. You might be in the reserve or guard. You might be a first-time freshman, and you're taking 1-1, or let's say you're a freshman taking 1-1 and you need to catch up a year, right? There's a whole bunch of different ways to do it. So people have a different story. So instead of, if you're asking another cadet, like, how do I do this? Come talk to the staff that we get paid in order to provide that service to you. Cool? All right, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Two small hands, Mr. Yacht. Next, we have Staff Sergeant Pack, and he'll talk a little bit about National Guard and the SMD program.
Yeah, awesome. So again, my name is Staff Sergeant Pack. I am organic to UCI, so I am here with you guys. I'll be here for all your labs on Thursdays and in and out doing other stuff. But if you guys have any questions, especially with the recruiting side, and you can't get a hold of Mr. Yacht, you can always get in touch with me, and I'll be here to help facilitate that. I am an Army National Guard recruiter, so I am specific to that. But if you have questions about the reserves or any reserve component, which is the part-time portion of the Army, you can come to me and I can help answer any questions or lead you to the proper person that can answer questions for you. So again, reserve component means that we're part-time. So when you finish ROTC and graduate college, you can go be part-time as a second lieutenant. You don't have to go active duty full-time into the Army. there are some full-time opportunities available in the part-time components. So you can still, the benefit of the California National Guard is that your unit is in California. So if you want to stay in California, you want to be stationed here, you can guarantee that by joining the Guard. And there are full-time opportunities available to be able to do that. The PMS Major Sparrow, I believe, is our Army Reserve AGR, right? So yeah, the PMS of the Thornton, he's actually a reservist, but he's full-time in the Army Reserves. So there are those kinds of positions available, even if you are in a reserve component. Again, units are local and in-state, especially for the Guard specifically. And part-time, what the heck does that mean? That means 1 week in a month, 2 to 3 weeks in the summer. It's about 39 to 45 days a year. So it's extremely part-time. That allows you to go to school, grad school full-time while you commission as a lieutenant and be lieutenant part-time, or work your job full-time, whatever that may be. One of the things that's unique about the Guard is that we support state operations on top of federal operations. So when there are state emergencies like fires, riots, COVID, I'm sure you guys all saw when COVID happened, there were soldiers at testing sites and vaccination sites. The majority of those soldiers were National Guard soldiers, because that's kind of the bread and butter of what we do, is support state operations. Just a quick thing, kind of following up what Mr. Yacht talked about, when you're on scholarship or non-scholarship, your commitment obligation when you do part-time is different. If you're non-scholarship, you owe 6 years to the reserves of the Army National Guard, part-time, or if you're on scholarship, that's 8 years. Really the only difference. Next slide, please. I'm going to talk really briefly, I know we're going over time. Simultaneous membership program, Mr. Yacht talked about it really briefly when he was going over the Minuteman Scholarship. If you are a contracted cadet and you don't have a scholarship, whether it's a national scholarship or a campus-based scholarship, you can do a guaranteed reserve forces duty scholarship or a Minuteman scholarship, but you will have to commission either reserves or National Guard. It is a separate pool of money that you can continue to compete for if you can't get the other two, or if they're out of funding in the other two pools. The benefit of SMP though is that you will be assigned to a National Guard or a reserve unit as a cadet, and you will shadow a second lieutenant. So that complements and supplements what you learn here in ROTC. You learn a lot of theory, you do a little bit of the lab, and then you go to your units 1 week in a month and actually do what officers do and shadow them and learn from them and see all that in real life action. So it's a really great benefit to help build your leadership skills, get more accustomed to what the Army is really going to be like, and really put practice and theory into practice, rather. You are non-deployable while you're contracted as a cadet. So even if you're with the Army National Guard unit or a reserve unit and those guys are going somewhere for a mission, you stay here because your education is your priority and ROTC takes precedence over all of that stuff. Another benefit is you get paid more than an average person just joining the Army when you're a contracted cadet in SMP. So when you join the Army, you join as an E1, that's a private, but you get E5 pay as an SMP cadet, which is equivalent to what sergeants get paid. So it's a lot more money, especially for the part-time. And again, there's scholarship availability for the Guard Reserve component specifically. I'm gonna go over this really briefly, it's not that important. There's one really key component, but Mr. Yacht talked about different ways to go about the basic course, whether you go to basic camp, you go all 4 years of ROTC, or you go to basic training. So you can join the Army, attend basic training, which is so-called boot camp, and you'll also pick up a Army MOS. So you can be a 68 whiskey, like Cadet Yatalova over there. She just joined the Army Reserve, and she's going to convert to SMP. The reason she did that is because she is, if you don't mind me mentioning, it's okay. She is a I-551 green card holder. She is not a U.S. citizen. In order to be a United States military officer, you must be a U.S. citizen. If you join the Guard or Reserve, we will expedite your citizenship. So instead of waiting 10 to 12 years, you will get it in 6 months. And it's paid for, or the fees are waived, so it's free. So instead of paying $2,000 to $3,000 and waiting 10 years, you can get your expedited citizenship in 4 to 6 months. They say up to a year, but it's been about 4 to 6 months on average. So it's a really great way to help you get into that process, and especially if you're not qualified because you're not a citizen, because you must be a citizen in order to contract into this program. You can do this path where you can join the Guard or Reserve as an enlisted soldier, go to basic training, go to AIT for your job, come back, because it's part-time, it's reserve, you just come back home after you're done with training, and then you can immediately contract into ROTC as long as you're qualified. And then you'll convert to an SMP cadet, be non-deployable, and go through this program and be able to finish college. Yeah, that's basically it. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to be around, so I want to keep moving on because we're a little behind schedule. Thanks.
Hey, Sergeant Pack. So before we move on to Master Sergeant Chief Max brief, know we're a little restless, so I'm gonna give us 10 seconds, all right? I want everybody to stand up. Come on, stand up. Shake it out. Shake it out, please. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's get back down. Okay.
Hey, so before I start, right, I want to take this opportunity and thank all of you guys, right, from the Battalion Battalion, all the cadres, all the returning cadets. Thank you for coming back. I've been safe from the long summer break. You went to camp. Good job to you guys, and then for all those that went on the summer, I'm happy you guys went. I hope you guys cleared your head, and happy that you guys were away from Sergeant Rasek and us. Alright, but you're back, guys. We got you. For the returning cadets, alright, or for the new cadets, alright, welcome to the 10th Battalion, alright? Go ahead and take your phone whenever you get a chance to get out of here. Call your family, say, I found a new family. We're gonna take care of you guys up here. That's no lie. Alright, I think it was Cadet Hold that mentioned what ROTC program is. It's a leadership school. We're gonna be teaching you guys a lot of leadership stuff, and part of being a leader is being a professional, right? These are some of the nuggets that we're going to be talking about today to kind of get you somewhat professional, all right, and then you'll progress moving forward. All right, so saluting, all right, that's part of the customs courtesy here in the United States military. Whenever you see an officer, all right, you're going to send attention. If you're in the uniform, prescribed Army uniform, this that I'm in, or a PT uniform, you're going to send attention and you're going to salute and render salute and say the greeting of the day, all right? Same thing for an NCO. If you see an NCO, send the parade rest until they tell you to not do it no more. All right, hands in the pocket. All right, I'm really bad with that, right? Because my hands get cold easy, and like there's pockets I don't know why my hands keep going in the pockets, but it's not professional if I'm up here talking to you guys like this, right? So don't do that when you're in military uniform, cadets. Headphones. All right, do not wear your headphones while you're in this uniform, walking around, right? Because an NCO will probably rip you apart. Talked about uniform standards. I'm not going to talk about that. Oh, uniform standards, all right? So you will get issued these whenever Sergeant Rasek schedules you guys. If you guys are in the program, you guys will get this uniform so that you're not destroying your civilian clothes while you're doing training with us. And for PT also, if they still have some left. For the tardiness, right? Simple, right? Do not be late, cadets. We only have, you guys see the schedule, we only have a few hours with you, and there's a lot of information that we're going to be passing on to you guys, so do not miss a block of the instructions because you're going to be behind your peers. And also when it comes to paperwork for those contracting and scholarships that Mr. Yap mentioned, right? Our brigade, our higher headquarters are going to be asking for those, right? So the sooner you get them up to Sergeant Manning or the HR team, right, the quicker you're going to get your contract and get your money that Mr. Yap was talking about. Public display of affection. Mentor, what do we mean when we say that? Public display of affection.
Don't be holding hands or kissing other people that you know.
All right. Hey, cadet.
In public.
All right. In public, right? Good. All right. Hey, exactly right. All right. So I do not want, what I don't want to see, all right, is you in this uniform doing that. All right, because it's not professional cadets. When you're out of uniform, all right, you can do that. I don't want to walk to class, all right, I want to teach my MS4 class, and I see Cadet Mentor with his girlfriend or boyfriend. I'm not trying to assume your sexual orientation, right? But I don't want to see that you're in uniform doing that. It's just not professional, cadets. Don't do it, all right? But if you're out of uniform, by all means, do whatever. All right, physical fitness, all right? Our profession requires us to be physically fit cadets. Right? You don't have to be like a super fit cadet, but like at least pass the military standard, which is not that hard, cadets. So during your physical training, that Sergeant or not Sergeant Rasek, but Cadet Steele will plan for you guys. All right, do your best. All right, don't just use that the only time to do physical training. You can do it outside too when you get home. It's like, man, I'm still pumped up from Stillwell's exercise. It was kind of weak. Let me get some more. All right, and it's free, cadets. Physical fitness is free. Just get out there, stump the road. All right. All right. So this form right here, cadets, 2983. Alright, this is a recruit training prohibited activities. Alright, make sure you read these. You guys will get these when you get to your class. Your instructors are gonna pass these. Basically, they are the do not do these with a cadre member. Alright? So just an example, do not consume alcohol with your cadre, right? If your cadre is over here trying to give you alcohol, alright? Tell them like, hey, I signed this form, I cannot do that with you. Alright, they should know the same thing because they signed this different form with the same verbiage. Alright, so make sure you read and understand these cadets so there's no misunderstanding of what you should do and do not do with the cadre members. Next slide. Alright, I'll be followed by Staff Sergeant Ratzig. If you guys got any questions for me, you guys can reach me through Captain Boom or Captain Sweat.
Good morning. Hopefully everyone's awake for this. I'm going to talk real briefly about active shooter, okay? It's something that I wish we didn't have to talk about, but it's something that we should talk about, right? It's a reality of today's world. So I myself, I don't think I said it earlier, I'm a military police officer. I've been doing this for 13 years. I've been trained on active shooter, more so on the how to respond to it side, on the law enforcement side. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what you can do to help yourself, God forbid that this situation ever arises, okay? So what we train now, well, if you look up at the slide, feel free to read this as I'm talking about it. But there's a few numbers up there and a few things that, or a few people you can reach out to as far as critical information goes. But as far, can you read the next slide, please? All right, thank you. So we train on run, hide, fight, okay? From the civilian side, if you're not a law enforcement officer and you find yourself in an active shooter situation, you want to follow the protocol of run, hide, and fight. Okay, your first priority should be to run. Okay, run, save the people around you, and get away from the situation if possible. Right? If you're in an outdoor area, try and find cover. We'll talk a lot about that here in ROTC, finding cover and concealment. But get away from the situation. Then you want to hide. Okay, hiding means finding a room or classroom or some sort of area that you can barricade yourself in. Turn off the lights. Typically, the MO of active shooters are trying to create as much damage as humanly possible in the shortest period of time. If they run into a locked door, 99% of the time they're not going to try and get through that door. Okay, it's just how it works. Unless they have a very specific target in that situation, they're not going to try and get through a locked door. So get behind a door, get behind something that's going to deter them from getting into that room. Last ditch effort is fight, okay, if necessary. If it comes down to it, you have no other options. You can't run, you can't hide. You need to fight. Act aggressively. Again, active shooters are very weak people. They do not want to fight you, okay? They don't want to be deterred in any way. They're trying to make as much damage and ruin as many lives as they possibly can in a short period of time. So if you put up a fight, you're probably going to win. So run, hide, fight, right? And coming from the law enforcement perspective, if law enforcement officers arrive on scene, the best thing that you can do is just lay down and try and assist them in any way you can. Okay, that doesn't mean like find a rifle that's laying on the ground and try and like clear the rooms with them. But that means call out where you last saw the active shooter. Give them any information you can. They're wearing a black hoodie. They're, you know, a 25-year-old white male, whatever. Point them in a direction, okay? Don't try and grab onto them. I know that you're going to be scared in the situation. But what their job is and their goal is to get to that threat as fast as possible. And that typically means passing by people who are injured and things of that nature. So help will be on the way, but try and stay out of the law enforcement's way of that. I know it's not like the greatest thing to talk about at 8 o'clock in the morning, but sadly it is a reality within our society, so it's something we want to hit on briefly. Does anyone have any questions on that side? Okay. I believe the next slide is also me, the more fun stuff. So I am, myself and Sergeant Manning are the unit prevention leaders here in ROTC, which simply means that we're the drugs and alcohol guys. Okay? Not that we do a lot of them, but we know the most about them. Okay? We're trained professionally to administer drug tests and identify things of that nature. I'm also an MP, so I can tell if you're drunk. I'll do the horizontal gaze and stagnance test on you if you come to class. Looking a little tipsy, okay? But talking quickly about alcohol, okay? One average 12-ounce beer or a shot or a glass of wine will typically bump you up to a 0.08 blood alcohol level unless you're a pro, okay? Which most of you are way too young to be pros at this point in your life, okay? But talking about the legal limit, okay? Why do we talk about alcohol? Because DUIs are a thing, right? Who in here has a driver's license? Most of you, right? Do not drink and drive. You've probably heard that 1,000 times already, and you're going to hear it another million times throughout your adulthood because it creates tragedies left and right, okay? So many people die annually due to drunken driving, and honestly, more people die from drunken driving, getting hit by a drunk driver, than the actual drunk drivers die, right? Have you guys ever heard that before? Okay, so you're not just putting your life in danger, you're putting somebody else's life in danger. Maybe somebody who has kids, maybe kids themselves, okay? So it's not worth it. So if you are going to drink, drink responsibly, have a plan. I understand that not all of you are 21. I also was not 21 at some point in my life when I drank, right? I understand that you're going to drink. This is not giving you permission to drink underage, but they're going to talk to certain team like, he told me I could. But realistically, I understand that you're going to drink if you're in this room, right? More than likely. So have a plan. If you find yourself in a situation where you can't get home, or your ride fell through, or you don't have money for an Uber, I promise you, you can call me, you can call any of your MS4s, we will find you a ride, okay? I don't drink, so you can call me whenever you want. Sergeant T-Mac doesn't drink, you can call him whenever.
Sergeant Manning does lift too, so.
You can scroll to the Lyft drivers and try and find him working, he'll pick you up for free, and I'll pay for it, okay? I promise you we will get you home, so don't think that you're going to be embarrassed or we're going to hold it against you the next day. I promise you we'll get you home safe. We will take care of you. There will be no issues. I won't even talk about it the next day. Going into the drugs part of things. So talking about prescriptions, okay? Prescriptions are totally okay, right? If a doctor, a medical doctor, not some dude in a trailer park, if a medical doctor prescribes you medication, then you are allowed to take it. There are certain things that we need to know that you are taking if we're planning on doing certain training events. Like if we're going to a rifle range, I need to know if you're on a prescription for Vicodin, Percocets, things of that nature, okay? If it's an under-the-counter medication and is prescribed to a doctor, just talk to me or Sergeant Manning before we do any of those major training events because I want to make sure you're safe, right? I don't want to hand you a weapon if you're all piped up on Vicodin, okay? Just not a good combination. Also talking about prescriptions, if you are contracted in this room or you plan on contracting in the future, you will be subject to drug tests. If you get called up for a drug test because they are random and we're not going to warn you about them, and you are on a prescription that's probably going to pop hot within that drug test, just let us know beforehand. Again, it's not illegal to be on a prescription medication from a medical doctor. You're not going to get in trouble with the Army. You're not going to lose your contract and all of those things, okay? Next slide. Illegal narcotics. So the Army and federally, narcotics and marijuana are illegal, okay? So if you are contracted, you will be drug tested. If you pop for weed, it is not an excuse that it's legal in California, okay? It is still federally illegal. You still cannot smoke weed. I'm sorry. This includes CBD and steroids. Alright, so this includes marijuana, CBD, steroids, anything that is not prescribed to you from a doctor. And one thing that I really want to hit that's important is supplements, okay? Just because your buddy has big arms and tells you to take all these supplements because you're going to get super swole like them, even though they probably just, never mind. Be careful with supplements, okay? Do some research. If you're going to put something into your body, do research. Don't just take Dust Extreme by Blackstone Labs because your buddy said it's an awesome pre-workout, okay? Understand what you're putting into your body. I've been taking supplements and workout supplements. Most of us in the Army do. It's totally okay, right? Protein, pre-workouts, BCAAs, creatine, all those high-speed supplements. Just understand what you're putting into your body. If you're gaining 30 pounds in a quarter, it's probably because you're taking casein protein, which is a slow-burning protein, and you're gaining a bunch of weight from it, okay? So understand what you're putting into your body. Your body's a temple, right? So put good shit into it. Thank you. All right, a couple numbers about DUIs. So the Army has 2,000 annual DUIs. Not great numbers. It's kind of sad that we have that many because truly I've never been in a battalion that doesn't have some sort of DD program or a way to get you home. My last battalion, you could get a taxi ride to the arms room, and the arms room had a stack of money to pay for that cab ride. Some soldiers took advantage of that, but it was a thing, right? So I will iterate one last time before I finish up here. You can call any one of my MS4s, and that's, I don't care what time of night it is, or Saturday, Sunday. You can call any one of my MS4s, you can call any of the cadre if you're in a situation where you feel like you're in danger and you can't get home, okay? Do not get into a car. It's that simple. The answer's there. There's no reason to drive. If you think, like, oh no, man, I stopped drinking like 2 hours ago, I'm fine. That's not a thing, okay? It takes a long time for your body to eliminate alcohol from the system. You can't just eat a sandwich and like it's okay. It doesn't soak up the alcohol in your stomach. That's not a thing. So again, call us if you need us. That's my last one.
All right. Hi everyone, Captain Groom again. I'm going to use notes because I have what Sergeant Razovich refers to as the goldfish brain. It's an infantry thing. We're not known for our intellectual prowess, so but this stuff is really important to me. So yeah, I'm using notes. So why are we doing this? Why are we talking about suicide awareness prevention here today? By virtue of being in the two demographics, the groups that we're in right here, we are all at moderate to high risk of being suicide risk, okay? So college students last year were an entire 1% of all suicides, which might sound like a small number, but when you think about it in the big picture, that's a lot of suicides, right? The Army, I think we all know the statistic, 22 a day, that's a veteran figure, but the Army is extremely susceptible to suicides, okay? So that's why we're talking about this here, because by signing up, by being a part of this, by being a college student, we're all at risk of suicide. And why is that? Who can throw something out there as why they think, why is the Army, and why are college students at risk for suicide?
It's stressful, sir?
Yeah, it's super stressful, right? Okay, so the Army gives us like a curriculum for this, and it has a couple tenets, but really what it comes down to is stressors, okay? So I boiled it down to these. These are examples of stressors, right? So I started ROTC in 2008 when I was a college student, and I can say without question, the toughest situations I've been in my life, and the most stressful ones, either came from college or being in the Army, right? So we're all at risk. Stress is great for us. It's awesome. It's what makes us better people. It's what makes us, helps us get in shape, makes us intelligent, but it also is really risky because it's hard to manage stress, right? Okay? So we all understand we're all at risk. Whether we think we're tough or not, we're all at risk, okay? So there's two major components of suicide prevention. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so basically boil it down to this. It's taking care of yourself and taking care of others, right? Okay, so who's seen that video recently of the UFC fighter who lost his, I think it was like his best friend to suicide? Anybody seen that recently? Yeah, right? Okay, so he's doing an interview, post-fight, pre-fight, I can't remember what it is, but basically he talks about the stigma that exists around suicide, right? So what is that stigma? What's the stigma when it comes to suicide?
You can see you like as being weak.
Yeah, we all think of it as a weakness, right? So we need to change that stigma. It is really, really, really tough, and I would argue harder to admit to somebody you want to do this and go get help. It's embarrassing to us, right? Okay? We gotta get rid of that stigma because that's what is causing these ridiculous rates of suicides, both among college students and among people in the military, okay? So that's how to take care of yourself, right? We all have to stop viewing suicide with the stigma of, I can't go get help, I'm too ashamed to go get help. The number two component is taking care of others, right? So who in this room has dealt with someone who is contemplating suicide? Just raise your hands up high. Okay. What did you do to help de-escalate that situation, if you don't mind me asking?
I just listened to them and then tried to talk them out of it.
Okay.
Not much, but like it helped them because they were able to express their emotions a little more.
Did you ask them questions?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you think that was important? Yeah, exactly. Anybody else have any good examples of things they did? Yeah.
Mine was a military mover. Drove all the way out to Arizona, kind of like the escort your buddy. I stayed on the phone with him the whole time, and I drove all the way out to Arizona to pick him up.
That's awesome. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so the number one thing I wanted to bring up is you have to ask the tough questions, right? Ask them, you know, if somebody tells you they're contemplating suicide, you have to ask them, have you considered how you're gonna do it? Where are you gonna do it? Why? Things like that. You have to get them talking, okay? And that what you'll find is when you're speaking to somebody that's contemplating suicide, opening up to somebody and talking through these things really helps bring them down from that situation and brings them off the edge, okay? Can we go to the next slide? Sorry, one more thing I want to hit. Care for your buddy and escort your buddy, okay? So if you do identify somebody that's considering harming themselves, go do your best to be with them and then escort someone that is actually trained, okay? So if at all possible, stay with them until you can move them on to somebody else, okay? All right. So has anybody been here before? The UCI Counseling Center. It's right by, it's real close to the Student Center and to where our new building is, okay? So if you're struggling with suicide or you know somebody who is, please direct them to this as their primary means for somebody to get in touch with, this number right here, okay? They're obviously only open from 8 to 1700, so what do we do if somebody's on the phone with us right now and they're contemplating suicide? What's the hotline for suicide? Who knows it? Nobody knows it?
It's a whole song. There's a song for it.
988, right? Everybody write that down, 988. Suicide hotline, okay? It's just like 911. Instead of taking you to dispatch, it'll bring you to a counselor that can talk to you, or talk to your friend that's struggling with suicide. Okay, if for some reason you can't get in touch with those two means, you can always feel free to reach out to myself, Sergeant Mrazek, Captain Sweat. We live all pretty close by to UCI, and we're the full-time cadre here, so you can always reach out to us. Okay, everyone stand up. Do 10 push-ups. We'll get to this. I know some people didn't do some of those push-ups. Okay, you guys are good. Everybody stand back up. Take your seat. Who in here is bio-sci or pre-med or something like that? What just happened in our brains?
Blood got pumped through the veins.
Yeah, what else? What's released in our brains when we do physical exercise?
Serotonin and different.
Endorphins, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is my last point. And this is not part of like the Army curriculum, but so I was just a company commander for a year and a half. Fortunately, we did not have any suicides, but we had suicidal ideations within our company probably once a week, if not more than that, okay? Something that I noticed as a trend is a lot of times those individuals had stopped taking care of themselves, okay? So the number one thing we can do as a group to help reduce our risk of suicide is just work out and take care of our bodies, right? Sleep and exercise. It literally, naturally makes you feel good, okay? So, if you're struggling, or just as a good principle for how to live your life, take care of your body, okay? Especially as college students, that's going to be huge. It's going to help you out a ton down the road. Questions? All right, that's all I got.
Thank you, Captain Group. All right, so today we actually have a special guest from the UCI Office of Equal Opportunity and Diversity. I would like to welcome Ms. Beverly Falco up here to talk a little bit about.
Good morning, everyone. So glad to be here with you all today. Glad I could talk with you a bit about my office and what it is we do, but also really excited to be here with this group in particular. My cousin was part of the ROTC program and is currently stationed at Fort Irwin, and she gets to drive tanks for a living, which is pretty awesome. So glad to speak with you all, and hope that I can offer a little bit of information. This is not at all intended to scare you, but we do want to talk about discrimination, harassment, and sexual violence. If you go there. So our office, Office of Equal Opportunity and Diversity, is the Title IX office on campus. Title IX is making sure that we have equal opportunity for individuals, regardless of what their gender or sex is. So mostly what we're dealing with is concerns regarding sexual violence and sexual harassment, but we also have jurisdiction over concerns of discrimination, harassment on the basis of many other different categories, which I'll talk about in just a second. Our role is to be a neutral office, so we are not law enforcement, we are an administrative office. So if you're reporting to law enforcement, it's not necessarily coming to us. If you're coming to us, it's not necessarily going to law enforcement, so there is a distinction there. But also our role is to make sure that we're keeping record of concerns that are happening on campus. We know that not everyone feels comfortable coming to talk with us. We know that it can be a really scary thing to report a concern of sexual violence or sexual harassment or discrimination or other kinds of harassment. So the first thing that we're trying to do is really start that conversation, and I think that, you know, based off what we were talking about with suicide just before, I think that the hardest thing is to acknowledge that it happens and that it's real and that it can happen to people that we know and care about. So we want to make sure that we're starting that as a basis of knowledge that this is something that's occurring both on our campus, also within the military. Again, not to scare you, but it's the reality. We want to make sure that we know how to address those concerns when they might happen. Just for you all to be aware of, if you are a UCI student, we can assist you. We have resources and options, referral options for anyone who is a UCI student, regardless of where the conduct may have occurred, so whether it's on campus or off campus, whether it occurred with someone who is another student, staff, faculty, or even someone who is not necessarily affiliated with UCI, we still have jurisdiction and can still support you and offer resources for you. Also want to make sure you all are aware that you should be having to go through some more in-depth sexual violence, sexual harassment training as a student. I know that it can be a little bit tedious sometimes, but it is really important to be talking about it and thinking about it. So like I mentioned, we have jurisdiction over discrimination, harassment, and sexual violence. But I think that sometimes when we're just rattling those off, we may not necessarily know what that means or what it could look like. If you go next. So some of the protected categories that folks can be discriminated against or harassed by include things like age, citizenship, national origin, could be something like their gender, religion. There's a really, really long list of things, and this is by no means a comprehensive list. This is just a short list of things. But basically what we're looking at is anytime someone is treated differently because of their identity. So that could be something like being asked to do additional tasks or forced to do additional tasks, or could be someone being denied a promotion or a transfer somewhere because of their identity. It could also be something like making jokes, could be something like making a comment about what someone is wearing or their hairstyle. And I recognize that because we're in ROTC, right, that there are times where comments or standards may be required that may be different than civilian world. So I want to put that caveat out there that I recognize that there are times that it may be different. But if there's ever a concern that you're being treated differently because of your identity, then that's something that we would like to hear about and be able to assist you with. Thank you. Another thing I wanted to talk about is sexual harassment. So this is when someone is making sexual remarks, maybe asking someone on a date continuously, not taking no for an answer, not picking up on the social cues that someone is not interested in them. But it could also be something like if someone's saying, oh, if you go on a date with me, then I will make sure that you don't have to do this. Or if you let me kiss you, then you will be able to do this. That is a concern for us too. We have seen these things be reported, so please, if you hear of anything like this, come to our office, talk to us about it, so that way we can find a way to address it and remedy it as well. And I think the most difficult thing to talk about is sexual violence. So under our UC policy, sexual violence includes sexual assault, but it also includes relationship violence, so domestic violence or interpersonal violence. And it also includes stalking when it's on the basis of sex. So that could be something like someone is going after or stalking someone because of their gender, but it could also be something like this was an ex-partner and this person is stalking them on social media or cyber stalking them, could be physically stalking as well. Just want to throw it out there that social media is a great way to connect with people, but there are also a lot of privacy concerns associated with it, so just make sure that you're alert to those privacy concerns and aware of that. Not to say don't use social media, but just know what it is that you're putting out there and who can see what it is that you're posting. The biggest thing I want to talk about with sexual violence is that it's really difficult to talk about. Just like suicidal ideation or feelings of wanting to harm oneself, it's really difficult to express when something has happened to you that involves particularly sexual violence, but also discrimination. If someone's talking to you about sexual violence, it's probably because they trust you. They trust that you are going to be a safe person to talk to, and they trust that you're going to be able to help them or at least listen to them. If someone's talking to you about sexual violence or discrimination, please let them know that there is support available to them. You can refer them directly to our office. You can give us their contact information and we'll send them an email. But just know that just because you contact our office does not mean we're gonna start investigating anything. That's not the way we go about it. Instead, what we do is send an email to people so that we know what their rights, options, and resources are. We provide both on-campus options, but also off-campus options, because we recognize that sometimes people don't feel comfortable utilizing on-campus options, particularly if it's something that involves another student or maybe a staff or faculty member too. It can sometimes be scary to use on-campus resources, so we provide off-campus resources too. If you go to the next slide. One thing I really wanted to highlight here, and we've already talked a little bit about it just in different terms, but really trying to get you all to embrace the idea of intervening when you know that something is happening or when you see something. I'm sure we've heard the phrase, see something, say something. I think that that's something that we hear more often than not, but also if you see something, do something. It depends on the circumstances, obviously. Sometimes it may be safer to intervene. In other situations, it may not be as physically safe, right? So we want to be cautious of what that looks like. But I really want to encourage you all to be thinking about how you, as an individual, can intervene in a situation where sexual harassment or discrimination is happening. I don't necessarily know what that answer is going to be for you. So for example, I am not very confrontational. That is not my style. But I do have a tendency to spill water all over the place if I see something happening. Oops, what just happened? My water's on the floor. Oh no, now we're not talking about that anymore, right? So that's one way that we can do something. Another way is just to get directly involved, be like, hey, that comment you made, that wasn't cool. Like, that wasn't appropriate. Maybe let's not make that joke anymore. Something along those lines. But it could also be asking people for help. So whether that's contacting our office, whether that's contacting one of your cadre members, it really depends on what the situation is, right? But if at any point you're not sure what to do, please feel free to reach out. We would rather know about a situation and be able to address it than not know about it and have it continue to fester. Even if it turns out to not even be anything, maybe it's someone who's saying like, yeah, that joke didn't bother me, but I'd rather that we be able to reach out to that person, provide them options, because maybe it is something that's bothering them and they need that support. But unless we have their information, we're not going to be able to provide that support to them, right? You can go to the next slide for me. I want to just address that this is a lot of information that you all are digesting, both from me, but also from everyone else in the room who's spoken today. It's okay if you have questions. It's okay if you have questions after the fact. You may not necessarily be thinking of something right now, but once you leave the room, you might think of something. So please feel free to reach out. I am only an email away. I don't check my voicemail very often, but you could try calling. Email's usually better. But please feel free to ask any questions that you might have. Contact us if there's ever a time where you're just not sure about what's going on or you're wanting some consultation. We're happy to be a resource for you and provide that support. Again, we'd rather know about concerns and be able to address them, even if it ends up not even being a big deal, than have something be a big deal and not being able to provide support. So really encouraging you all to act when you learn of something, provide support when you can, and also refer things to us so we can provide that support as well. I want to offer a space if anyone has any questions for me, either about my office, what my office does. I can't necessarily speak to all the ins and outs of how we work when something happens, perhaps with a cadre member or with other folks who are on campus, but I can certainly try, and that's something that we would all work together if something were to pop up. But does anyone have any questions that I can try to address while we're here together? All right, cool. I will hang out in the back just in case afterwards you think of something, but otherwise, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Falco. So the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, they do this breed every year for us. They've been great sports in helping us facilitate safety among you guys. And remember, this is not just for your own safety, right? You guys are cadets, whether you wear this uniform or not. You represent UCI or ROTC, right? So then you guys, by knowing this stuff, you can help step in when you do see things that are wrong, okay? When you guys do see things that are wrong, speak up, okay? Because you guys are leaders, all right? So with that concludes our safety state out brief and basically our orientation. Here we have our contact information. So this is the contact information of all the fours that introduced themselves earlier this morning. So if you guys have any questions about the program, you guys can reach out to us on the cadet side. And we also, next slide. Sorry. All right, if you guys want to take a picture of this, you guys can to keep for your reference. But again, these slides will also be sent out to you guys, all right? Next slide. And here are some more contact information and info, our cadre, and also Mr. Yacht and Staff Sergeant Pack's email and phone number if you guys have questions for them as well. Let's take questions to the end. Let's keep going. So reminders, some housekeeping stuff. Before you guys leave today, you guys have a few forms, right? Your 3 waivers or whatever, okay? Make sure you guys turn those in to Cadet Juan. Cadet Juan, raise your hand. Again, he's our S1, S2 officer, so he's handling a lot of the paperwork, right? So make sure you all turn those into him. And also, there's an online form that you guys should fill out, a Google form. There are QR codes on your tables, and there's also a QR code right up here. So if you guys please scan that with your phone. Fill out that form before you leave, because there's some important information that we need from you all. With that, I would like to open up. If you guys have any questions about anything that we talked about today from any of our, cadet opportunities, summer opportunities training, if you guys have questions for Mr. Yak or anybody else here, any other cadre that spoke today, now's the time to ask them. So I'll open the floor to you guys. Say again? Any questions? Yes, in the back. What is your name? Hi. Hi, how you doing? You're good, awesome. What's your question?
So I am able to sign for ROTC tender, right? But there is a schedule conflict for 11, so what do I do?
That's more of an individual thing, so make sure you get in contact with our MS1 instructor.
Hey, I'm the MS1 instructor. I know that a lot of you MS1s that are freshmen coming in have class conflicts. What I want everyone who's enrolling in ROTC 11 or brand new freshmen to do after this, I'm not gonna grind that sausage here in this. After this, just meet me out here. We're gonna come together and find a time that works for everyone, okay? So that's not a locked in time for the freshman class. We'll figure something out that works for you. If I have to teach class at 6 in the morning like that in the room, I will. I'll be very upset about it, but we'll make it happen, okay? So don't worry too much about the class conflict. As far as scheduling on WebReg, we'll figure that out as well. I can talk to your counselor, get you scheduled for the class.
On that note, before you move on, I know the twos are having the same problem. Please see me afterwards. We'll work through it. We'll make something work.
MS4s, we're not changing our time.
Track and target.
Well, that's all. Okay, any other questions? Yes. Oh, sorry, state your name, please.
Tatum Kim, if we're not currently enrolled in MS1, are we still free to attend PT?
Yes.
Oh,
definitely. Definitely come out.
Bring your friends.
Everyone can attend PT.
So PT stands for physical training. Typically, we have that from 0600 to 0700 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as Cadet still talked about, right? And for tomorrow in particular, it's going to be at the top of the parking structure. That's where we're meeting. You guys know what the ARC is. That's the Anteater Recreation Center. That's where all the gym stuff is. So we'll be meeting up there, okay? So if you guys are concerned about rides, like for example, you live in Mesa Core, it's about like what, 20-minute walk away from our parking structure, okay? Make sure you fill out that form and we'll reach out to you so that everyone can get there and we can get acquainted during PT, all right? Any other questions here? Come on, I know there's some questions. Something burning in the back of your mind. Yes.
You guys offering like tutoring if you're like helping classes and stuff like that?
Tutoring, so I'm glad that you brought that up because we do have something called a cadet mentorship program. That's for us fours and us threes to mentor you guys as twos and ones. And in the ROTC program is a diverse group of people and a diverse group of majors, right? And so stay tuned for that. You'll be able to get your mentor, and then you guys can talk a little bit more about your major, get some help on that note. And for all you UCI freshmen here, hey, UCI is like its own little city, all right? All the Fulton colleges, they come here like, hey man, UCI is huge. Yeah, we're our own little city. We have a lot of resources here at UCI, okay? So tutoring centers, counseling centers that we talked about earlier today. So if you guys are ever in the need for anything and you don't really know who to reach out to, nothing better than reaching out to us fourth years, us third years who've been here at this school, not just this program, just at this school in general, that know all the ins and outs of all the different programs and stuff offered here, okay? You guys pay tuition here. You guys pay tuition here, right? It's a lot of money. So use the resources that this campus provides, all right? They're there for you. They're there for you. Good question, thank you. Yes, hi.
Are there midterms and finals?
Say again?
Are there midterms and finals?
Are there midterms and finals? That's up to your individual classes. So if you're a bio major, yeah, there's midterms and finals. But I'm pretty sure every major here, it's up to your individual professors, okay?
Oh, do you mean for MS class? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
For MS class.
Are you an MS1? Are you a freshman? Yeah, no.
There's your answer. Okay. Any other questions?
You got a question back here?
Yes, back there.
For PT, do you have to wear a certain something, like their uniform?
So PT, for now, I know a lot of you guys don't have your uniforms, right? If you do have an Army PT uniform, I encourage you guys to wear that out. Otherwise, it's just any athletic gear that you have, any athletic clothing that you have out there, okay? Make sure there's nothing, super flash or anything like that. Any other questions? Okay, before you guys leave today, I just want to talk a little bit. So, welcome to UCI, first of all, for a lot of you freshmen, okay? We're excited to have all you guys here. We're excited to have everybody here, even all the returning cadets, okay? I want to stress, when you're here at UCI ROTC, UCI, we're a family, okay? We're a family, we're a team. Everybody that you see here is here to help you, okay? All the fours, can you guys stand up, raise your hand? So all the fours here, we just got back from advanced camp, okay? So you can think of us as kind of like the veterans of the program, the veterans ROTC program, okay? We've been here for 4 years, know pretty much the ins and outs, and can give you guys a lot of good feedback, all right? All the threes, stand up.
Oh yeah.
So these guys are smiling a little bit because they're getting ready to go to advanced camp, okay? They're getting ready to go to the Super Bowl, all right? These guys are our players. Sorry, I come from a sports background, so I like to use a lot of sports analogies, so that's what I do, okay? So these threes, again, they can also help you, right? They've been here at this school for 3 years, all right? Some of them are transfers. They've been here for 1, and other times they've been here in this ROTC program for a long time too. So you can also reach out to them, all right? And they're going to be your squad leaders and platoon leaders, all right? So you're probably going to reach out to them before you come up to us. So guys, wave. Just wave, all right? Recognize your faces, okay? MS2, stand up. All right, 3, thank you. All right, these are no longer freshmen, they're sophomores, all right? So they know a little bit more about this campus, okay? So take a look at them, all right? They're pretty much the closest to your shoes in terms of, being in this program, being new and stuff like that. But for those people, they are your own peers. So MS2, stand down, MS1, stand up. That's everybody back there. MS1s, if you're new to the program first year. Now, everybody else, let's give them a round of applause. Okay, 700 in the morning, all right, you guys, it's not easy. This is probably your first class of your entire college career at UCI. So, hey, we're really glad to have you guys here. Again, we're a family, we're a team. Where I started, I was not like this, okay? I could not stand up here and talk like this like I am today. All right, I was a very shy kid, really quiet. I wasn't really good at PT either. My run time was like, my 2 mile time was like, what, like 22 minutes, something like that? Oh, wow. Yeah, and now I brought that down to 13. Okay? Oh, yeah. So it does not matter where you start, okay? We all have some different backgrounds. We all might have played sports in high school. We all might have done better academically in high school or whatever, okay? But I'm telling you, it does not matter where you start because the people around you and the people up here, all the people you see in uniform, all the cadre here, we're here to help you. We're here to help you guys get better every day, become a better leader in this program or not, okay? All right? So with that, I would like to open up to cadre. Do you guys have any allies? So let's start with Major League.
You guys can sit down.
Yeah, you guys can sit down. Thank you, guys.
Sit down.
Major League stop. Everyone's out here. Captain Group?
I'm good, unless anybody here has questions for me.
Captain Sweat?
MS2 is just sitting after, we'll work through the class time.
Okay. Last Sergeant T-Mac? Yes. Sergeant Pack?
If you guys have any questions, I'll be around. I'll probably be in this corner back here, so just come talk to me if you have any questions about recruiting or guard or SCP.
I'm gonna be here at 09 tomorrow so that I can assist anybody with anything they might need. And just so everybody's tracking, if you're a contracted cadet, for tuition and fees and room and board, I cannot submit your stuff until after the ad drop date. So I believe the ad drop date for you guys is October 5th. So whenever it's October 5th or any time past that, I can submit it up to headquarters and then you guys will get your pay and everything. But in the meantime, just be patient. Y'all will get y'all money.
Farmer Isaac?
No, same track maybe as Captain Sweat. Just if you're in MS1, come see me. We'll figure out a class time.
Cadet Delgado, anything?
Nope, I'm excited for you guys to see what your schedule looks like and then for us to come together and work as a time.
Yeah, Vargas?
Hope you guys are excited for FDX. We're gonna plan to build FDX for you guys, be a lot of fun, and we'll see you there.
All right, before I forget, sorry, Mr. Yock, anything, Mr. Yock?
Anybody that's new or interested in ROTC, make sure you put your name, email, and cell. We'll give you a courtesy follow-up, right, on some of the steps in order to follow up on contracting or if you have a scholarship question. I'm also going to hang out afterwards too, so if you have an individual question, please feel free to move.
Okay. Cadet Dante? I've got nothing else. You guys tomorrow at PT. Cadet Silva? Good to meet you guys. I have nothing. Troy? Okay. Paul?
Just please turn in the forms, right here. Thank you.
Okay. OG? Bozer? Okay, that concludes our three. Cadet Venture, what are we? What is UCI ROTC? We're a team. Alright. A team.
You didn't know.
Alright, Ross, what are we? Alright, let me ask you guys, what is UCI ROTC?
A team.
One more time, what are we? A team. That's what I like to do. Okay.